Now, what I can't understand is how Venom has a 30% on Rotten Tomatoes, but this flaming dumpster fire somehow has an 80%. Now, I can say that I went into this movie with extremely low expectations. I wasn't expecting, for this to be a good movie. I didn't go see it on release day. I waited a couple of days, and, people were saying that it was bad. And it was, I almost expected there to be negative reviews, but at the same time, I was really hoping for these positive reviews. So when it came back negative, it kind of put me off a little bit. But, I love Spider-Man and I love the universe and those characters. So I knew I would go see it eventually. And, I only waited maybe 2 days before I went to go see it. And I was, just to be kind of general, I was pleasantly surprised at how good it was. Now, for a reinvention of his origin story, of Venom's origin, I thought it was extremely well done. I thought that the ideas were original. I thought they, stayed true to the personalities of the characters. And overall, I thought that the story itself was not a weak point. I thought it was well done for, what Sony was able to do with, the situation between Marvel and Sony working with Spider-Man. One of the things that I loved was the fact that they went back and changed the way that they said symbiote. If you remember in like the early trailers, they were saying symbiote instead of symbiote. And there was kind of backlash for that. So it was good to see that they took the things that we said to heart and went back and corrected themselves on the mistake that they made. I would say that the thing that I liked the most about this movie was the relationship between the suit and Eddie Brock. And, my favorite Spider-Man universe is the Ultimate Universe, and I think Venom is very well done in that universe. But there's no like direct communication between the suit and Eddie. It's just kind of like feelings more than words. But in this movie, the suit physically says things to him and they have conversation. I thought that them going back and forth with each other was an extreme highlight of the movie. I thought the dialogue was very well done. I thought Tom Hardy did a fantastic job of portraying Eddie Brock the way that he should be portrayed as. One of the things I was worried about going into the movie was the villain. I had no idea who the villain was going in. I knew it wasn't going to be Carnage. I knew it was just going to be kind of almost a throwaway villain. And I didn't know if he had any comic book background or anything, and I didn't look anything up about it. But, you go and see the movie and you learn that the main villain's name is Riot. And I had no idea who that was. I didn't know if that was a character from the comics or anything like that. So when I came home, I did some research, and Riot is from the comics, and I think he was portrayed pretty well as well. And I was surprised that, he wasn't a throwaway character, that he actually had, origins in the comics, and then that actually made things, made me feel better about him being the villain instead of it being one that, we know better. As far as the acting goes, I thought that the acting was totally fine. Tom Hardy plays both Eddie Brock, obviously, and he also plays the suit. He does the voice for Venom. And I thought that his acting was fantastic. The supporting characters were all good. I didn't think, at any time that I was like, man, this is bad acting. I thought it was completely fine. Now, I've kind of been talking the movie up. And I'll be the first to admit it's not a perfect movie. There are some issues with it, which I'm about to get into. One of the issues is right at the end, it gets a bit cheesy, kind of the whole like, it's up to me to save the world kind of scenario, and the dialogue gets a bit cheesy with that kind of scenario happening, and just right there at the end, it's a little cheesy. I would say my biggest gripe with the movie is it's very clear that they wanted to do more, and it feels almost like you're watching a censored version of the movie. Like when Venom fights, you're expecting it to be a lot more violent, and especially the way Venom speaks, talking about biting off the heads of people and stacking the bodies. When he fights, it's not reflected at all. It's it's almost like what you'd expect the Hulk to do. And because of that, it looks like you're watching something like censored for television. And I understand why they did that. They had to keep it a PG-13 rating in case they were going to do a Spider-Man crossover. It makes sense, but at the same time, it detracts from the movie. And, there was 40 minutes that, Tom Hardy really liked that was cut from the movie. So even some of the best bits that, the lead actor was saying is, his favorite pieces aren't aren't even in the movie. Now I'm going to get into spoilers a little bit with the after credits scene, but it's nothing super crazy. It won't like ruin the movie for you. So I'd encourage you to stick around for it. But the ending sequence introduces Woody Harrelson, who is playing Cletus Cassidy. And if you don't know who that is, that's the character who becomes Carnage. And it sets up that character to come in. Obviously, in the sequel, it's the mid-roll credits that it shows that. And I thought that was awesome that they kind of had that plug there in at the end. And I think the best thing to do moving forward, if they kept it PG-13 for a Spider-Man crossover, and that's exactly what they should do now, is to include Spider-Man in for a Maximum Carnage storyline. And I think that would, for one, it would help, get, if they were going to do more Venom movies, it would help get it out of the rut of, this 30% on Rotten Tomatoes, which is pushing people away from a movie that's actually pretty decent. And at the same time, it would be able to introduce Venom maybe into the, the main MCU, be able to have him be part of the actual universe. Now, is Venom a bad movie? No. Is it fantastic? Not necessarily. Is it a good movie? Yeah, I would completely say it's a good movie. I would say you're missing out if you decided not to go see it. I don't think you're going to go there and be blown off your feet. I think you will enjoy it, though. I think everything there is enjoyable. It has comedy, it has action, it has everything you love in a Marvel movie. It's just not completely up to par with maybe some of the other Marvel movies, but it's not something you should refrain from go seeing. Overall, comparing this to the 30% that Rotten Tomatoes gave it, I'd give it around an 80%, which is what, audiences are actually saying is it deserves an 80%. I can echo them and agree that this also deserves an 80%. So yeah, my opinion is to, grab a friend, go see it. Understand there's a couple of things that don't make it perfect, but overall you can have a good time and you can enjoy this character who hasn't had a lot of screen time, but deserves a lot more love than he's currently getting with this 30%. And yeah, that's it from me.